Welcome back to another episode of the Block Runner Podcast. I'm your host, William, always here with your co-host, Iman.
What's going on, dude?
And on the sticks, we got TJ.
Hello.
All right, dude. It's another one. Another one is in the bag.
Crypto's dead again.
Yeah, I read that article.
Everybody did, apparently, including people. And
That's right. Yeah, I saw that.
yeah, I guess it struck a nerve, right?
Yeah, I'll bring it up just that way.
We can't go through it. Well, I mean, nah.
Nah, I mean, it's
Pretty long. But give a concise takeaway if you can. Because, I mean, how many times have you heard this? Crypto's dead?
Oh, yeah, this is millionth time, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, crypto's dead in this context from the perspective of, well, there's a lot of takeaways to this. Crypto's dead in the sense that we can't just come up with nonsense and expect it to work.
What's nonsense, though? In other words, experimentation?
No. You need to experiment in the same way that, new products in Web 2, they're experimenting, right? They're addressing a problem with their solution.
So then more centered around memery.
That's the nonsense. And it's not the memes that is the nonsense. It's like the general crypto experience is the nonsense.
Yeah, he kind of referred to that a bit, like the cultural identity of crypto. It's like this little neighborhood we've kind of crafted for ourselves, I guess, as early adopters.
Yeah, and the thing that convinced early adopters, the narrative that convinced early adopters is not the same narrative that's going to bring on the next 4 billion people.
Yeah, that's easy to say now, I guess, in the context of stablecoins. It's like, here's something that actually has a shot at
I feel like stablecoins, that's why they exist, is for that purpose. The whole world has a currency problem, including the United States to an extent. But it's not as bad for the United States dollar.
No.
We got other currencies inflating at 70% year over year. I mean,
Right.
I mean, that's really bad.
Yeah, so the idea of digitizing this more stable iteration of a currency and giving access abroad to basically anybody who has connection to the internet and can interface with these Web3 rails, which we shouldn't say, according to this article and others, I guess. It's like we need to, as much as possible, make this infrastructure on the back end just to not worry anybody about what they're getting involved in.
I think that's viable. I think crypto has had a public, I don't know, crypto's had a bad taste to the public.
PR problem?
Yeah, anytime retail gets involved with crypto, they get burnt. Every time. And so the next time you hear some sort of Web 2 project integrating with Web 3, it's all sad news.
Right.
But now they're not doing that. They're you have a problem? Well, here's a solution. And it's just, we happen to be using Web 3 in the back end, but that's not why you're using the solution.
Right. Well, I don't know. This is a little bit of, I guess, to be expected in pendulum swinging in the opposite direction, right? Where it's for a couple of years, it was all meme dominance and an exodus away from the propositions of utility and pragmatic approaches at creating, innovation at scale and, actual applications that problem solution type technologies. That was I guess the vision of crypto's past, and then it was failed at delivery or at the execution stage, I guess.
I mean, we've spent a lot of time asking ourselves, what are we doing here? What are we doing, right? And it's well, what is the product of crypto so far? And the only thing is Bitcoin solves a big problem, stablecoins solves a big problem, and then that's about it. Other problems that can be solved, which are being solved right now by Coinbase and Robinhood and others, is you can't trade stocks 24/7, but you can now.
I don't know. So then things like DeFi or GameFi, NFTs,
those still haven't been applied to problems yet.
I mean,
what's the problem with DeFi? You get better yields. That's a good problem, but Where's the product of that?
There's a ton of them.
And now they're starting to be used through neobanks.
Right. That's the thing. It's like if you're solving a problem of banking accessibility, financialization on Earth doesn't just end at that, right? There's a whole extrapolation of layers on top of that.
But how many times do people talk about that in crypto Twitter?
Well, it used to be like all that we talked about, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Last cycle.
Well, 2017.
And like the DeFi reign, right? That was like the big coming out party for Ethereum, why Ethereum applications and dApps seemed to make a lot of sense at the time, right? Because, not only is it about banking the unbanked, it's about giving them access to these financial primitives and stuff in a permissionless way, blah, 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 blah.
So that was the conversation, and those tokens went up, right? Because because that was the narrative at the time.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But then it's sort of devolved into like every token is a meme.
Yeah, I guess that's the nonsense, I guess, right?
Yeah.
The yam coins, the yam farms and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Food coins is whenever like some like actual honest attempt kind of emerges,
and
then like the crypto people tend to kind of like take it to like an exaggerated level.
Sure. Yeah.
For the sake of, I guess, creating a mania out of it.
Yeah.
Right?
So what you're saying is you solve a problem like DeFi, you create tokens that support that problem, and then someone else comes in, forks it, and sort of exaggerates with like food tokens, which don't necessarily address a problem, but it creates a casino that people can go and like get crazy with 20,000% yields and stuff like that.
So what does that do? Like that because of that, that's what turns people off from the initial iteration. Like
I think to a certain extent, yeah, because the retail people, they get in and it was like the 20,000% yields, and this new casino, they come in, they get burnt.
Right.
Instead of like coming in because they have a problem, and it's like I could use DeFi to solve my problem.
Yeah.
And then a developer needs to take the DeFi primitive and like create the product that solves the problem. You don't solve, problems with like HTTPS.
Mm-hmm.
It's like here's HTTPS and like you can use it. It's like that's not good enough, right? You need to put it into a product.
Yeah, I could see that. So basically that's what they're advocating for. It's like don't make the casino of crypto like perceivably like the whole thing that's happening here, I guess.
Yeah, the only thing that's happening here.
Yeah, I think he worded it like, damn it. It's in here somewhere. But basically, like the casino is the city or something like that.
Yeah.
Or like make it part of the city, not the whole city. Yeah, you're not going to find it, dude. This is like a ton of, well, maybe you will.
We're building better casinos for user base that already spends all day at the tables. That's one. Says, and we should be honest, the casino pays for a lot of the construction, the speculative flows, and the fee spikes. Everyone loves to sneer at at the infrastructure that powers boring things like payments. The goal isn't to kill the casino, it's to stop mistaking the casino for the whole city.
Right. Yeah, so we need this casino, right? Because it is the mechanism of...
It's the flash that brings in the flies.
Yeah. The maggots, whatever you want to call.
The moths to the light.
Whatever, dude. To the pile of poop. Whatever, dude. But yeah, I mean, it's not only like a vector of attraction, it's sustenance for these like boring payment rails. They say like these things wouldn't exist to where now we have infrastructure to where,
Well, how do you speculate on stablecoins?
Well, you don't. You speculate on like the chains, I guess, where these stablecoins will lie.
Yeah.
Or will like flow through.
Yeah.
These chains have coins, right? And this speculation enables like an industry to form around that.
Yeah.
And now we have like serviceable technology that's applicable to everybody.
Yeah.
Right?
Speculation is a huge deal. I mean, that's why we have the stock market.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you look at Elon Musk, dude. He's very much happy that the stock market exists right now.
100%.
Without it, he may not have achieved so much, right? So we need active markets and we need reasons for people to become participants within them, right? That's in crypto's case, it's highly unregulated. You're going to get a lot less substance as a result from that mechanism.
But man, as soon as regulation was sort of like lifted from a regulatory standpoint, like the rigidness has been lifted, all of a sudden we got Coinbase like launching derivatives and stocks, synthetic stocks,
prediction markets,
yeah.
What else?
Like overnight.
Yeah, margin. I think like now you can leverage trade. I think on Coinbase.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, things are definitely changing. There's a whole new mold in the system, right? But I guess the main discussion point here is, where does crypto go from here? I guess because this cycle feels different from the previous ones.
Yeah, and what he means about crypto's dead, it's not that crypto's dead, like in the sense that you should go do something else. No, crypto's dead from like the today's understanding of like scammery. Like if you're coming in here to scam, it's largely not going to work.
Right. Well, because there's no like liquidity around, I guess.
Yeah, because people are, I guess, they're just not doing that anymore.
Well, I like this guy. So he there's a podcast here that we can listen to like a short snippet of it. But I like his kind of assessment, right? Because there's like other options now because of the AI boom and such in the equities markets. There is something else you could be doing besides crypto, right? And there are other markets, and Coinbase now like fully supporting this other activity is kind of like evidence of that. It's like
what specifically other activity, like derivatives, you mean, or what?
Just using like margin to ape into tech companies.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, we're gonna get a whole bunch of new AI IPOs coming up soon. Anthropic, I'm sure, is coming out soon.
SpaceX is
OpenAI, SpaceX. Next year is gonna be a stock.
Finally,
boom.
There's been a lot less IPOs over the last 4 or 5 years.
How come?
Compared to other hits, I guess, I don't know. Maybe it was Biden. I don't know.
It's always Biden's fault. If you watched Trump's speech last night, that was basically it was a Biden like shit-a-thon the whole time. It's like, dude, this guy hasn't been relevant for like more than a year. Why are you still bringing him up?
Yeah, because he's cleaning up his mess, apparently.
Yeah, that was the gist of it, right? It's like, yeah, Biden really fucked up, didn't he?
Yeah.
It was like, you guys are lucky I'm here.
Yeah.
That was like it was only 20 minutes, but that was the whole speech.
Did you watched it? I missed it.
I was anticipating like
World War III.
Yeah, like the fucking image right next to Trump was like just like bombs going out. Remember when Iraq first got invaded?
I do not remember.
Do you remember, TJ?
Yeah.
Did you watch the news?
No, not really.
Like the night it happened, it was fucking crazy, dude. It was like cameras like over the city, just explosions.
Yeah, I guess I kind of vaguely remember that.
Man, you guys don't care about nothing, do you?
I also missed Trump's speech last night.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, you didn't miss much. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were expecting a war with Venezuela. I mean, if you want to call it a war, more like a smothering.
You say that, but then have you ever seen Black Hawk Down?
I have seen that, yeah.
Yeah. You expect it to be a smothering, and then a couple choppers go down, it turns into a shit show, Shit that can happen.
Vietnam as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, war is not as
cut and dry.
We didn't have drones then either, though.
That's true. We need more AI robots, though.
Robots, yeah.
But anyways, so yeah, let's watch this clip just to kind of I don't know.
Yeah, so who's it?
Get our bearings straight here.
So it's from Empire.
I think it's Delphi Digital.
It's a new episode with Delphi Digital. And this section is called "Why is Sentiment So Bad?" All right, here we go.
I think it's worse, actually.
So it's somewhere around there, right? We can agree on that. And that's like despite all of the actual like clear signs of maturation in the industry, right? With institutionalization, all of that stuff, right? Do you think it's just like mostly price driven because people in crypto are simply they just don't own the assets that haven't gone down 90%? Do you think or is it like more of a deeper kind of like exhaustion or fatigue with these casino style speculative elements that we've been discussing? Or is it kind of a mixture of the two? Because when I was reading this article, it actually reminded me a lot of, our conversations in Montenegro, Jose, about like
Yeah.
it was like kind of like a
I was
corollary
trying to
it,
bear hole you.
right? Yeah, it's
Do you know what article he's talking about? Is it crypto's dead?
Yeah, that's the guy who wrote it, Dougie.
Okay.
I think. But that is the article they're referring to. Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah,
I mean, the guy who wrote it, I mean, he only has like a few thousand followers, and it got a lot of traction.
All right, let me make sure. Let me go check.
All right, let me play it.
It's kind of like a core. It's like adjacent to it. It's not exactly the same. It's kind of attacking it from like a different angle. And like when you like look at this cycle, right? Like prior cycles, like bull markets, when liquidity is going up, everything's risk on. Like crypto is like the very clear place for speculative capital to flow, and like it's not really the case anymore. There are other viable, very cool tech pioneer sectors that are effectively vampire attacking that speculative bid that would have otherwise flown into crypto. And this is something we wrote about in our year ahead report as well. So I'm kind of curious, like where you like kind of gauge it. Is it just like a price driven sentiment thing, or is it more of a deeper exhaustion in all of these things we've talked about kind of?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think what Jan started to touch on is like something I actually think a lot about in terms of like tech adoption cycles and how markets tend to respond to them. I label them as like the imagination phase and the post-imagination phase. And very clearly, like 2020 to probably sometime in 2024, we were in the imagination phase. Everyone literally thought like crypto was going to disrupt and change the entire world. Whether it was everything's going to be an NFT, whether we thought corporate structures were going to be revised to like decentralized governance structures, like the list just goes on and on. People's imaginations were running wild in terms of like how much impact they believe that this technology would have in the world. And because they were early, they were going to profit enormously due to that. And then I think like, some point in 2024, 2025, like that phase came to an abrupt end. And we're now currently in the post-imagination phase. It's where reality sets in. And you look around you and you're like, have we actually accomplished any of the things that I believe this industry would? And honestly, I think the answer to most of those questions, there's perhaps some exceptions, is a resounding no. And the result of that is people start to lose conviction, lose faith. They believe that like some of the things they thought would happen are not going to happen. And everyone starts to get very uneasy and nervous. They start to be like, am I just like moving in the wrong direction? And it's especially hard when you look around and you see AI, for example, in its imagination phase. People are making extreme amounts of money just like they used to crypto. And you're like, wow, like, am I swimming in the wrong ocean right now? Pretty much is the question. And I think like that is how I best describe like what the industry is feeling right now, and why I don't think it's just prices. I think prices are a symptom of it. But Josie, I think you want to say something, so I'm gonna give you the floor.
Yeah. So what do you
Yeah,
think?
I think that's the biggest
I
difference.
think so far I would agree. Imagination phase. I think we were in the imagination phase up until like 2021, 2022. And then that bear market was like, okay, we have some potential here to build on what we had, right? NFTs and all that stuff, metaverse, and like none of it like really panned out.
Nothing came back, basically.
Nothing came back, and
the things that were delivered, like the few things that were actually delivered, like other side included.
Yeah, and I actually kind of look forward to bear markets because that's where most of the innovation is discovered, and then that's where you can position yourself early.
Yeah, but I guess like the results of a bull market following a bear cycle, all that and the capital injection, like tons of VC money entered the space, you would expect like some chat GPT moments, I guess, like some real product market fit that, onboards potentially billions of users the way AI has done, right?
Yeah.
But that didn't pan out. Not so much. I mean, again.
I mean, maybe stablecoins might be the chat GPT where like 4 billion people are using stablecoins.
Yeah. Just out of pure necessity.
Yeah.
Not because they were lured in by any like speculative promises.
Yeah, and what does that mean? You got 4 billion participants in an ecosystem called crypto. Like you got potential users now.
what are they actually? Yeah, that's the thing. Are they actual ecosystem participants or not really? They're just
Well, they have accessibility. They have access to it versus using the Bolivar to pay for your groceries. You're not going to access any DeFi, speculative anything.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think that's a pretty big deal. Now all of a sudden, at least their foot's in the door, right?
Yeah.
So like you can get to the metaverse thesis of like the metaverse is a good idea because it kind of gives opportunity or like access to opportunity who are people who are geographically just kind of dispositioned, I guess, by birth. You just happen to be born in like a
just unlucky.
Yeah, bad economy.
Yeah.
But that implies it's like, there's additional steps beyond just getting people's foot in the door, right?
Yeah, but there's got to be a market to an addressable market, right? If your addressable market for the metaverse is like 50 million people, right? That's not as big as, 4 billion people.
Right. Yeah, I guess I don't know. It's a combination of the two. Like for sure, onboarding people through stablecoins, it's a good first step. But these new like attempts at iteration of creating native digital value, I think, is important, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's something that needs to be completely like disregarded. Now, what is the definition of native digital value? Is it meme coins? Is it NFT markets, collectibles? Like, where does that value stem from, right? And then I think once you unlock these like new vectors, which typically tend to come in waves, right?
Yeah.
NFTs came 4 years ago, meme coins more recently. Whatever the next thing is, now all these new onboarded people in this new
prediction
ecosystem,
markets, right?
Maybe. You don't think somebody's gonna develop some kind of like, I don't know, meme coin launch pad around prediction markets? It's like
that'd be cool.
Yeah, there's like some hot prediction, right? And then you can issue meme coins.
Like, the
for
problem
either side, and now you've kind of formed communities around these like predictions.
It's just the problem is that once the prediction is executed, meaning the team wins or whatever, then what?
Coin goes zero basically. That's a good point.
Yeah. But that's the kind of thinking that we need to have in order to come up with the product that actually makes sense.
Yeah, and then in hindsight, that's the stuff that looks like nonsense, right?
Yeah.
But initially, and at some point between hindsight and initially, there's like market euphoria around this like new concept.
Sure.
Just because it's something new to do, a new game to play.
For sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Even though like on paper, long term is not going to work because once the prediction is executed, coin go to zero, NFTs go to zero, and it's like...
Yeah, so it's a question of...
But the developer will still do that, and it'll still generate $100 million in volume because it's a new thing.
Yeah, and I think there's always going to be an appetite or demand for this type of product experience, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like crypto payment rails is not like something to get out of bed for.
Mostly, yeah.
For, I guess, yeah. I guess,
you sent that neobank. What's it called? Contigo.
Oh, I like how you added a little Spanish flair to that, dude.
That was nice.
That was very spicy of you. Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Contigo. Okay.
So these guys, they made this startup, and it's a neobank. And what's cool is that this neobank, you onboard yourself, and it's supposed to be for not supposed to be, but Latin Americans can get access to it, right? Latin America, I should say.
Right.
And so what they get access to is instead of paying in your pesos, you're paying in USDC, USDT. Why is that important? It's because now your deflationary token, your inflationary money doesn't inflate as fast as the United States.
But you're not actually paying with this stuff. You're just saving.
Well, yeah. So eventually you'll get paid, right? Because that economy over there is like, yeah. Well, why am I getting pesos when I could be getting USDC, USDT, and paying out on this stable coin, right? So eventually it's going to kind of evolve in that direction. But yeah, you'd be earning money in pesos and then converting that into USDC, which now you conserve purchasing power.
Yeah. So what does this mean for all these other nations and their native currencies? Like their situation only gets worse, right?
I would imagine.
Wow.
Which that means they have to adapt, meaning they probably have to like just use the dollar.
Now, is adapting like the U.S. naval fleet showing up on your shores? Is that what adaptation looks like? It's like, all right.
I don't think that's going to be necessary. If you don't adapt, you die. So you're sort of have to do it anyways. You don't need to be coerced.
Yeah, well, if that's the case, then it makes sense why there's this like all of a sudden like apparatus forming and structuring around stablecoins, right?
Yeah.
For the proliferation of the dollar in a time where there's like an active like attack against it.
Sure.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I feel like the stablecoin concept in comparison to like the BRICS currency, I think stablecoins are winning like by a landslide.
Yeah, I don't even know what the hell BRICS is like really doing.
They're not doing anything. They're just trying to figure it out. It's like,
that's true. They're like still in like brainstorm.
Yeah.
They're on their, on Miro, still trying to like
on the whiteboard,
on the drawing board,
the digital whiteboard.
Yeah, what are we doing, guys? We just bought a bunch of gold. It's like I thought this was gonna hurt the United States in some way or shape or form. Or
they have the most gold, right? United States.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, they're gonna reprice that pretty soon, and then allegedly buy Bitcoin with it, but who knows?
Yeah, well, nonetheless, the sentiment's bad. It's expected when price go down. Then it's like there's a little bit of like a FOMO from us non-AI participants, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's like one of the things I aligned with this comment is there's a little bit of like
like you're swimming in the wrong ocean.
Yeah, a little bit of like what's it called, like window shopping envy. You're kind of looking at the window store, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I want that thing.
Yeah, you're that like sickly orphan.
Exactly.
There's like a hot pie on the other end of that window.
Yeah.
You're just like, fuck, dude.
It's like right there, right?
And like some fat kid comes up from inside, just like,
right.
Yeah. We're those starving orphans.
Yes.
And AI is those fat kids.
Yeah, dude, my entire timeline on Twitter is like 90% AI stuff, like apps and, productivity stuff. And like, I find it pretty interesting because I feel like if we're not adapting to what's happening with AI, not only will you get left behind, but you're getting left behind at an accelerated rate. You're losing the race faster and faster as time goes on.
Yeah, it's funny you used to say those things like years ago and like didn't hit as hard.
Yeah.
But now it's like in application phase.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're right. Like we're actively seeing the getting left behind.
Yeah, I used to say this would be the equivalent of like not being able to keyboard on your computer. But no, this is like not understanding how important it is to use the internet. Like if you don't know how to use the AI tools out there, it's as if you don't know how to use the internet.
Yeah, I agree.
And we all know people who don't know how to use the internet. They're like our parents and older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're typically stuck in,
Yeah, they're the ones calling you. You're like tech support. It's like, how do I do this? How do I do that? Right, TJ?
Yes. Can vouch.
Yeah, not me. I never understood tech.
Oh, come on, dude.
I never did, dude. I was always like, call my brother.
Wow.
He was the one always gadgeting around and
Yeah.
He
was.
that was him. I was just the user, I was the one putting all that hardware to good use.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the digital arena, right?
Yeah, but you put together a computer once or twice.
No, TJ did for me once.
Oh yeah.
Like, see, I outsource my mechanical needs, in most cases. So I'm one of those people. But I still understood the value of the internet, right?
Sure.
Fully immersed myself within it.
Yeah.
And then cryptocurrency came around. It's like an even more
but here's
important
the thing.
facet of that.
Here's the thing. We're too young to like help build the internet. If we were old enough, we would have contributed to that, right? But now we're old enough to like contribute to crypto and like, leverage AI tools to build stuff. And we need to leverage that opportunity. And if we don't understand these tools, you're just not going to contribute. And you're missing the opportunity of the internet in the early 90s to what it became.
Yeah. Yeah, you're definitely like less impactful and you're just slower. You're just you're not operating like everybody else at this pace of everyone else. That's it. So therefore, in a competitive economy, you tend to lose in most scenarios if you're not using like, you know, the most latest, you know, thing. Like if you're an athlete, if you're not using like the best equipment, you could be like Rocky, like working out in the mountains.
Yeah.
Or like those Dagestani wrestlers, they're just out there. They don't need state-of-the-art equipment, but they figure it out.
Yeah.
Brute force their abilities in the wild, right? But,
they just find a bear. Wrestle a bear.
Wrestle a bear, you know, chop down a tree.
Sure.
Whatever.
Yeah, like for example, if you're trying to improve your free throw, like you could sit there all day try to like improve yourself. But if you have the iPhone and you download an app and it records you, it gets the correct angles. It says here's where your elbow is not high enough, right? Your elbow is not in enough. And then once you start correcting yourself, then you have a better shot at making, you know, 90% of your free throws.
Have you tried that yet, TJ? With the baseball swing
analyst? Yeah, so the videos I sent you guys over the weekends, like baseball is, if you are a stats or like analytics guy, like baseball is the sport for you. Yeah. But the one I sent you, man, that software tracks everything about it.
Yeah. So that video, was that from the venue or did you?
Yeah.
Okay. So the venue has that software and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And it tracks like spin rates and exit velocity, everything. It's crazy.
Well, phones can do that now.
Yeah.
And so if you're not using, that's what I'm saying. If you're not in that venue, then you're out in the streets playing basketball, right? You better be recording yourself with these apps. Because if you're not doing that, then you're missing out on like gains.
Maybe. I don't know if Michael Jordan did that.
Michael Jordan would have done that. The next Michael Jordan is doing that right now.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I believe that, dude. I don't think there's anybody that could top MJ. Well, we'll see. But I yes, you're right.
Yeah, it's
you're
just
obviously disadvantaged.
I mean, Michael Jordan, he spent like his entire time like playing basketball, like training. He was eating healthy all the time. Like he was about it compared to like his teammates, right? Just like Kobe.
Yeah.
And so imagine if you had that mentality in the tech age, you would be geared up.
Yeah. 100%.
Right? And so I feel like, you know, there's that's the opportunity that you should be taking advantage of given the generation of technology you have access to. Because if you don't, you're just going to be left behind, like I said.
So that's where the envy comes from?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
it's
because
like here's an industry sector producing that degree of usefulness.
Yes.
That's going to like literally transform every facet of like human individuality. And then it's like crypto.
It's like memes.
At least we could launch a meme though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where the sentiment comes from. It's like, fuck, we feel a little bit like, I don't know, unworthy, underperforming.
It's definitely like, underperforming. I was going to ask you, I guess they were saying that the envy, or man, I forget the question that they were talking about, but this difference between crypto and AI being more productive, do you think it's the lack of, or do you think crypto just enables the ability to just like spin up things and then people make up narratives to like elicit more activity? Do you think just the nature of crypto has like enabled that versus something like AI? You can't really just finagle an AI product. It's either does what you say it does or it doesn't.
What do you mean by finagle? Like
you can't just like hack together an AI product. Like it has to have some semblance of completeness, some product, something tangible that you can access to versus versus a crypto coin where it's like, we're going to change the world, buy my token.
Yeah, that's definitely something different, I guess.
Yeah.
It's the nature of what you're describing, you know, a token, which is like, it's some vehicle of value.
Yeah.
So like determining what that actual value becomes is like it's it's like a perpetual endeavor, right?
Yeah.
On behalf of typically whoever issued or launched that token, right? So you have to continually iterate and kind of like develop products over time, as opposed to like AI. Yeah, it's like your product has to be useful out the gate, because your mechanism of value determination is like how many users you're getting and how much revenue you're generating from those users. It's like very direct, right? It's not so much like, I don't know, not as nebulous, I guess, right?
Yeah, I was just showing you an AI app that is a browser, and within that browser, you could tell the AI to go and do stuff, and it was doing it, and so that saved me, maybe like 30 minutes of my time instead of doing that task. The AI was doing it.
It's interesting that like in the context of all the things you can do with AI, and you can quickly build apps and useful products and stuff, like Believe is not like huge right now,
True. Yeah.
Like you would expect that to be like the perfect cross section of like what's happening in AI.
I would think so.
And what crypto enables.
Maybe it just doesn't have that big of an audience.
Yeah, I think it's partly because it's like the ease of access to capital in Web 2 world must be like at such an all-time high.
Probably so, yeah.
There's no real demand for like alternative bootstrapping mechanisms, right? It's like, I think in this day and age, you could just, say you got some cool AI idea, just like they said, they're in the imagination stage of AI.
Sure.
And most VCs will throw a dart at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just because, like, that's the promise of AI. Yeah, you just never know. One of these could be a sleeping giant.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing that they said was the sentiment being all-time low, lower than FTX. Do you feel that? Is this feeling worse than FTX?
I think it's on par.
I would say it's on par, yeah.
It doesn't feel as bad yet because, the prices haven't really dipped that hard, that aggressively yet. I don't know if they will.
Yeah, they haven't gone to 70% from all-time highs.
Yeah, like if that is coming.
Yeah.
And then for sure, it's like, yeah, this is worse,
I would have to agree, but why though?
Well, there's just less like hopeful outlook, I guess.
Yeah.
It's harder it's harder to derive like something that's going to pull us. But then you say that, and then you got, again, stablecoins.
I was going to say.
Prediction markets are blowing up. Just more government emphasis around this stuff. And there's some sort of like new structure bill that's going to be coming out pretty soon. There's still a lot of reasons to be bullish, right? So
yeah, so
it's not that bad.
Yeah, so then it's not that bad, right? This is an over exaggeration.
Yeah, it's just people who are like not content, right? They want more. They're expecting more.
Well, everybody was absolutely expecting more,
including
us.
Yeah, with Bitcoin, right?
Yeah,
like the price of Bitcoin itself is a huge like anomaly.
Yes, absolutely.
Completely did not get anywhere near its like expected value, I guess.
Yeah, according to the Bitcoin price in gold, we've been in a bear market for exactly 12 months. Literally, December 2024 was the all-time high.
Yeah, well, that's about when. Yeah, that's about whenever FTX happened. I think about 12 months after the like pico top of Bitcoin.
Oh right, yeah,
so it was like 12 months of a bear market that led to FTX collapse. So we're there, basically.
Damn, it took 12 months.
I think so.
From all-time high. Damn.
Yeah, like it didn't crumble until like October, November.
Yeah.
Time frame of the next year. And then
I remember that.
That's when we were in our own pit of doom, and it's like, dude, yeah, it's like,
yes,
what are we doing? Why are we doing this?
Yes,
there's no recovering from this, and then it's like ordinals.
Yes,
we were happy again. So yeah, these are like the opportune moments, right?
Yeah,
typically.
Yeah,
opportune specifically for us.
For sure, yeah.
That's what I've been thinking about a lot. It's like the worse the sentiment gets, the happier I become.
Yeah.
Because I know these are ripe conditions to introduce something radical and new, right? And something that's exactly what we got in our possession. Something radical and new, and that the market is obviously desperately seeking. Like
yeah, something
that's not just payment rails. Like, come on. I get it. It's going to help service a lot of people, but there are crypto natives who want to remain crypto native, and they see value in on-chain, ecosystem flufferys, whatever you want to call it. You want to call it nonsense.
Yeah.
You want to just call it experimentation. You want to call it just, you're not solving any problems, bro. You're just, living in your own wonderland of digitization, and nobody else identifies with that but you guys, you weirdos. And it's like, well, that's the way we kind of like it.
Yeah.
Right?
I think there will always be a market for that.
Yeah. And then, so like the criticism is you guys are expecting the rest of the world at some point to kind of like mold themselves to your identity and culture. Well, it's like, well, look back to the internet. There were early days of early adopters of the internet, and guess what? The rest of the world did adopt and mold themselves to the culture of the internet.
Everybody says LOL now. Everybody.
We did that.
We did.
Us early adopters of the net, dude. We were the first ones on the social media platforms, the weird ones at school, right? It's like, oh, you guys got AIM? It's like, hit me up on AIM. We're like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Like, we'll get it, loser. And then they got it and they loved it.
Yeah.
And then they never went away.
Yeah.
We were the first ones playing video games, multiplayer online, massive online games.
Yeah.
Now everybody's kids is hooked on these things.
That's right.
Right?
We're the trailblazers.
That's right. So I don't think the crypto industry sector should scoff at these people who like identify themselves as crypto natives.
I totally agree.
Because these are the people who are actually building like new primitives, new stuff that will at some point in time. Yeah, it's not going to happen this cycle. Like everybody's like lack of patience demands.
Yeah, and stablecoins just attracts a new foundation of people who has access to what we're offering.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You can't just offer them access and then not offer them anything else beyond that. It's like we've got to actually hone in on how to create digital value like sustainably. Right?
Yeah.
And it's a challenge. It is. It's a real challenge. It's a reason why things boom and bust, because it's like
it's easy to promise and people like the promise, but it's harder to execute and therefore it busts.
Yeah, it's correct. And like the goal is to arrive at some like actual perfect formula, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you understand the process of like science, this is what you do. You experiment, you test things.
Yeah.
You form hypotheses.
Yes.
And then you build, methodologies to test out these assumptions to prove them right or wrong. And that's what we've built as a market, is where we get to assume things.
See, that's the thing, is we test in production. I totally agree with that. There hasn't been a whole lot of like new testing. There's like a handful of new tests.
Yeah, I guess.
And I think that's been largely the issue.
I don't know.
Like a new test is not like my new NFT collection. That's not a new test. Like we need something else.
I mean, I think there's a lot of things being tested, right? It's just not everything is like working or catching fire.
I mean, creator capital markets is a good test.
Yeah. Internet capital markets.
Yes.
Time.fun. Let's tokenize people's time and see if we can form some sort of market value.
Yeah, that's a good test.
All the stuff that Zora's doing, all the AI agent exploration.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever, right? Let's just keep it going. Metaverse stuff. I mean, Bitmap, that was an interesting little test.
Yes.
Did pretty good for a while there.
It did.
And then it didn't.
Yeah.
So what? That's part of the process of one day we'll arrive to this perfect formulaic representation of what the metaverse was supposed to be all along. And we learn from those,
100%
points of the past where, something seemed to work until it didn't. So let's correct on that. And let's improve.
Yeah. You got to iterate.
Yeah. So it's just, I don't know. People are just, I guess, impatient, or I don't know.
They might not understand the process.
Yeah, a lot of these people are probably like brand new to the space. It's like this is their first like experience of Doom.
First rodeo?
Maybe. A little bit of that. It's just, dude, these things take time. You know how long it took for ChatGPT to like actually happen? Like in the context of AI?
Yes.
Talking decades.
Yeah, we were talking about Dota and AI. How long did it take? Like 15 years? Since 2012?
What do you mean?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Whenever they
tested AI on Dota?
Yeah, that was like in 2012, 2013 or something, maybe somewhere around that time frame.
Yeah, I remember that was like the talk of the town when it came to AI. It's like it beat gamers at Dota, and then before that it beat
like chess grandmasters
Go.
and stuff.
Well, Go was before that, and then chess was before that.
The hell's Go? Sorry, you look so disappointed.
Damn it, dude.
What the fuck is Go,
the
dude?
Game Go.
Is that card game where? Oh no, it's Uno. Oh, that thing.
Yeah. So there are more permutations of this board than there are atoms in the universe.
You mean like how these little pebbles can be placed?
Yes.
Yeah.
The different.
So what is the objective? Do you know? You're trying to enclose some other side?
Yeah, I've never actually played this game. I just
What the fuck?
I just know that it's really complex.
You sounded like you're a regular, dude.
I don't think I've ever seen this game.
Are you
You haven't?
serious?
Ever.
I saw it in the movie Beautiful Mind. Remember that one with Russell Crowe where he's like a schizophrenic?
Yeah.
That's just what they did in Princeton or whatever. They just played this thing on the benches in front of the university.
Yeah. Well, technically, this is the most complex game.
Really?
The most complex. And
I mean, it looks pretty complex. There's a lot of
well, yeah,
pieces
because there's
here.
a lot of things you can do here. But the point is that AI defeated that, and then Dota came after that. Before that was chess.
Yeah,
and then,
Dota smokes this beyond big time
yeah,
from a complexity standpoint.
maybe.
Dota was 2017.
What? That was in 2017?
That's what it says.
Shit. Okay, I was a little off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2017, and
It's still a long time ago from now.
yeah, it was 8
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
9 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's. I wonder because wasn't that like Elon involved in that?
Yeah, it was OpenAI.
Yeah, it was OpenAI. That's when he was still
I remember
around.
that. Yeah.
And then he left like in 2018 because I don't know, Altman is probably a douchebag or something. That's my guess.
Well, anyway, before chess was like games,
Mhm.
and then the first game was Pong. But the point is that they never taught the AI how to play any of these games. It was like you connect the AI to the game, and then you told the AI just to win. And it took a long time before the AI actually won in Pong.
That's that perfect formula, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's all about enabling rapid iteration and, clinging along to the time scale. So at some point you hit an inflection point, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, now with AI, these rapid iterations, they should become even more rapid, right? Accelerate.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're talking about. Now builders, tinkerers, founders, whatever, we've become superhuman in a sense.
Yeah.
It's like in a lot of cases, we can now like individually, execute on multiple roles simultaneously and like assign these things to, sleepless beings.
That's right.
Which, I mean, and if you're in a world of trying to build things, that's like a dream. That's a dream state of reality.
I couldn't agree more.
Because man, like trying to get people to do things, it's like really hard. Because people are very complicated and very complex, and they have emotions, and they're being pulled by the world for a million different reasons, right?
Well, and think about this: a human, you can't just tell them to do a task. Like, here's the task, do it. Like they'll have to spend some time figuring out how to do it. But imagine comparing that to like an AI. It's like, here's the task, you figure it out. And just like I did with the AI this morning, I was like, just reply to the comments on YouTube positively. I didn't say click on this and then open the dialogue and no.
Way to spill the beans, dude. Now everybody knows. It's synthetic Will replying to you guys now.
Now it is.
Now it is. It's been real
Will.
Real bleeding, heart pumping Will.
Correct.
Up until this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
But too bad. I mean, it's still gonna sound like me or us.
Yeah, I mean it yeah. I don't know, you guys let us know. It's like well, now they're gonna be mean. It's like, yeah, this isn't real. I don't like you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, right? And we're in this weird, like, transition area, like in for everybody, right? it's not so much of a concern for like programming and developing and stuff.
Yeah.
It's fine that, you know, this is all automated, but on like the front facing endeavor of like, you know, reality, you know,
consuming
AKA
content,
marketing, right?
Yeah.
That's a little bit more in question. It's like, you know, AI application in that realm, because you're disconnecting human elements of humanity from like, you know, information propagation. And that does something to people. It's like, you know, and people are just now figuring out, like, am I okay with this or am I not?
Yeah. I think what people are wary of is the false advertising. Because let's say, you know, the easy example, we see a lot of AI generating like pictures of like females. And like, what if you're on one of the dating apps and, you know, you're trying to talk to this female on the dating app, but it's really an AI. Like, that is false advertising, and that's a violation of the highest order. Right? But if you're consuming an AI video that is explaining a concept, like, that's totally fine in my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think of situations where this could potentially be perceived as not fine, because like there's like YouTube channels and stuff like, or TikTok accounts where like they have like groups of women, and it's like the content is they're like doing self-help like conversations amongst each other.
Yeah.
Just talking about like their relationships and, you know, problems at work. Just
are they all AI?
They're all AI.
Really? And I've not seen this.
Well, neither have I. But, you know,
how do you know they exist?
Because Twitter told me. This is the big outrage, right? Is they have like millions of subscribers and followers, and basically nobody knew that they were AI the whole time.
Interesting.
So it's like, now that people are aware, it's like, oh shit, I don't know how to feel about this. Like I was resonating and connecting and like taking their advice and like probably applying it to my own life, and then finding out it's like bullshit.
See,
like now I feel violated.
Yeah, I guess that's a violation. That's
to the highest degree.
Yeah, I think so. It could be false advertising, because the AI said this is how you're supposed to be in a relationship, and it's like some ideal thing when it's not based in reality. Yeah,
it's inauthentic. That's the real crux of this whole discovery phase we're on, is things that are authentic versus not. And like human beings are now quantifying value in that much more than ever because of AI, right? It's like we never had to question. Well, of course you could question authenticity. You know, there's snake oil salesmen all day, every day.
Sure.
People trying to scam you or just lie to you, but they've been human beings this whole time, right?
True.
Now this situation is totally different, right? So
now you can get scammed by AI.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know, like everybody's marketing is like participating in that realm has to like figure out, how do I utilize these new tools, but still like anchor what it is that we're broadcasting to these like, you know, roots of humanity that we so desperately need. We can't just lose all that.
So you're telling me that every company and project out there are going to have a podcast?
That's what A16Z is saying.
That's true. He did say that.
Yeah. Did they? Yeah.
Yeah. What did they say exactly? It was.
I mean, just that podcasting is like the most.
Oh yeah, that's
effective,
right. That's right.
Like communication angle, I guess. Now it's even, especially for nerds, I guess.
Yeah, but really, it wasn't about that. It was about get the nerds to talk on a podcast, but once they do, clip the clips out, cut them out,
right,
and put them out there, because that is the best form of content.
Yeah, like that's the juice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Before you would, you know, hire some Chad, right? It's like a company's built by nerds.
Yeah, they have the sexy voice.
Yeah, you hire some CMO who's like perfect chiseled jaw.
Yeah.
Just kind of like, you know, talk your ear away, and then you send them out in the world to go on CNBC or whatever, and kind of like, you know, promote your company and products.
That used to be the way.
Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah.
Now it's like, get the nerds together. Have them just like actually
stumble their way into a conversation, like through the conversation, and then get the clips out.
Yeah, let them communicate the nuances. Right?
Yeah.
Clip all that out, and then that's how you connect.
Yeah, when you sent me that article, I was surprised, not at the content, but at the fact that they were able to write that, because it's so intuitive for us. Like, that is what you're supposed to do.
I think that's like all we can do. There's no chiseled jaw here, dude. You know, I'm not gonna connect through looks maxing. That's not my role, right? But yeah, I could hold a conversation with you, amongst us nerds,
right?
Discuss some nuances in the world of crypto or in the world of DMT, ordinals, whatever it ends up being.
Yeah.
And then clip that shit. And then hopefully it like resonates with others, right?
Yeah. So you're saying we're going to be ultra successful then in this new market?
I mean, let's hope and pray, dude.
Yeah,
that's what we're banking on, right?
Yeah. What are we doing? Do we want more influence? Is that what we want? Do we want more followers, or do we just want to talk out there? I guess it's both, right?
Yeah, it's both, right? Anybody with some sense would tell you it's like you need more influence in this world.
Yeah, that is
but influence
the new market.
Influence is shifting, right? But yeah, I don't know. It's like this AI channel built tremendous influence pretty quickly with like this AI presentation, and it wasn't even human centric, right? So it's like that's influence, but did they lose this influence now once everybody figured out it's like not human centric? So
I guess it would depend on the content. Is it actually true, right? What this AI is saying?
I mean, the AI is trained on human experience, right?
Yeah, I guess if they're taking like you know tests and like scientific tests, and they're distilling that into a conversation between two AI humans, and they're conversating about the discovery of this new test that they did. Like I feel like that could be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Rather than just reading the black and white text.
Yeah, I think there's going to be this awkward stage where people are going to react initially, but eventually we're just going to adapt.
Yeah.
And we're going to get comfortable with it. It's like, okay, I just don't care anymore. As long as, like you're saying, the content is good.
Yeah.
I don't care. That's what Jensen Huang said, right? It's like,
it's true.
It's like we digest textbooks and stuff. We don't really care who produced this knowledge, but we use it because it's useful.
Yeah.
And we progress from this knowledge accrual. But in the future, 90% of the new knowledge is not going to come from human beings.
Yeah, it's true.
And we're gonna consume it. We're gonna use it because we don't give a fuck. As long as it's useful to getting us to our end desired goals, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll consume it and we'll learn to love it. Right?
Yeah.
But right now it's like a little weird.
Yeah, I agree.
A little icky.
I think that's something that we're all going to have to navigate, and then pinpoint to how we can use AI properly that's not icky, but delivers actual value.
Yeah, that's the world we live in now, lads. Sheesh.
So there's another thing that occurred this week. It was a conversation with Cinco Dago, the guy that works with via BTC. And we'll put the links in the description. It was a Twitter space, and he joined us. And we went through the whole gambit explaining the NAT token to his name's Joe, Cinco Dago. And I basically outlined the problem of NAT and Bitcoin security budget issue. And basically, to make a long story short, he agreed with the whole premise. Like the whole problem, he understands, like you cannot double the price of Bitcoin forever.
Right.
And he also understands that the revenue of Bitcoin miners it is the security budget of Bitcoin. And so if Bitcoin continues to have the revenue halves, if Bitcoin doubles, then all you're doing is sustaining today's security budget for a doubling of a market cap continuously. And so he understood that was a problem. And from a first principles perspective, as I explained it, is like, if that is the problem, then all we need to do to solve the problem is deliver more money to the miners. I was like, yes or no? He was like, yes. I was like, okay, well, that's what NAT does.
Spoken like a true miner.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I agree with your plan to deliver us more money.
Yeah.
Yes. Tell me more.
Right. And so if that's true, right, if NAT delivers more money to miners, then that isn't where, like, that's not enough, right? What is enough, because you could be like, okay, that does work, but, you know, tell me the team supply, tell me the VC supply, tell me, you know, how much what's the market cap, what you sold the tokens at, and all this stuff. Is like, well, there's none of that, right? There's no VC supply, there's no team supply, there's nothing. It was a free and fair token. and freely distributed. The biggest holder has like a little bit over 1% of the supply, which is Foundry, and like that's it. That's the story. And then it was like, okay, that's pretty cool, right? That might be enough in most cases. But then it was like, well, this token actually comes from Bitcoin, and so we went through all that stuff. And I mean, he liked it. I mean, it was pretty straightforward. There wasn't even like much of a debate, really.
Huh. Yeah, and he came into it a little sour.
Yeah, but I mean, he came into it from the perspective of what we were talking about earlier with AI, is like all these bots.
Yeah, that's the sourness I remember.
Yeah, all these bots are coming. Every time we tweet about, Bitcoin, it's like all these NAT bots.
Right. But then he found out they're not bots, right?
They're not.
These are actually people who enthusiastically support this concept and see the vision, see the application, see the value, and okay, yeah. Once you figure that out, that helps. That lowers the degree of that feeling of icky.
Yes.
When it never was there to begin with.
Correct. Right.
So yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So so it was a pretty good conversation, and yeah, I mean, I just don't think anyone can argue against these like facts. It's like you're not going to have Bitcoin exponentially grow, right? It's just not going to happen. So so I think we need to have more conversations like that with Bitcoin miners. That way that the information and data is out there for the AI to pick up, so that when somebody asks the AI, is like, what's happening in Bitcoin? It's like the biggest thing happening is NAT.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, I saw Max's post in the Telegram channel. He asked a very similar question to the AI this morning because they did a Twitter space, and he wanted an outline of like the latest stuff happening. First thing it said was NAT.
What was the question?
It's like, tell me what, the biggest thing happening in Bitcoin, like, or what's the latest happening? What's the most interesting thing happening in Bitcoin?
And that was number one?
Yeah, let me pull
Yeah, there might be some bias to his AI though, right?
Typically. Might be.
Yeah, if he's using some AI he regularly interfaces with, and then he like regularly has conversations about NAT with it. I think that's how like these things tend to like contextualize their responses. It has a lot to do with like how they understand what you're already like innately interested in.
It could be bias. That's why we need independent proof.
Yeah, I totally agree. But this is what's very important to focus on, is like, it's like in a new era of SEO. It's like,
yeah, AI
is
SEO.
there a name for this yet?
I don't think so, but maybe AI SEO.
Prompt engine optimization, I guess, PEO.
Yeah.
I don't freaking know. But yeah.
So the question is, give me the most interesting Bitcoin rabbit hole to dive into, or art NFT rabbit hole for a podcast. It's like one of the most captivating Bitcoin rabbit holes right now, especially for podcasts, is the evolving debate around Bitcoin's long-term security model, specifically the ticking clock on its miners' incentives as block rewards dwindle with each halving, and how innovations like NAT from Nat Gas,
what the hell,
could emerge as a second subsidy to sustain the network without altering core consensus rules.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I just don't know if it's, because it isn't the most widely chatted about thing, even though it should be. People are.
Well, think about it.
From a metric standpoint, discuss more like core versus not. So even still.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like, I would assume an AI would mention that as priority just because.
Yeah, because of
it has
plethora of data.
Yeah, I guess. But nonetheless, that it still brings up a good point. It's like that really is part of the goal here, is to again, how do we proliferate the understanding of NAT and DMT and all these things with the new tools of AI, and still not doing it in a way that propagates that feeling of ickiness.
Yes.
That AI, at least in its current day, tends to do, right?
Yes.
So we need to be cognizant of that, and still like, if you have a personal brand of any kind, some sort of semblance of influence, you need to weaponize that in your like communication.
Yes.
So that, the message is just that much more impactful, I guess. And I think these AI algos pick up on that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. At the very least, we need to continuously create content so that the AI can eventually pick it up. Because eventually, independently and objectively, this will be the biggest thing in Bitcoin.
Yeah, but it can't just be just put out content, because I think if you just put out content and if it's just like mid AI, slop, doesn't get engagement. So there's no like validation to the content.
Yeah,
right?
I see.
So it's like it's got to be content engineered through AI, but human spice on top.
Yeah,
so that
human consumable.
Yeah, so that the taste of humanity is still preserved. Therefore, real humans are likely to engage and interact with the content. I think that's what the AI looks for, right?
I would think so. I would hope so.
I hope so. Yeah, otherwise, it's just digesting slop that was generated from itself, and it's like
more slop. Slop
AI,
squared.
AI, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks pretty sloppy, right?
Yeah. And I guess the other news is that Spiderpool just moved 2 billion NAT, which is a small amount, which indicates that they're probably testing their dashboard.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Can't wait to see that. We gotta get a glimpse on that dashboard whenever it's ready.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people are actually like really waiting on that. Just, I don't know.
Confirmation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like they've done more than just move money, right? They've actually integrated into their product. That's a different style of like progress.
Yeah, a different layer of validation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's call it here. Thank you guys for listening. This has been the Block Runner podcast. We talked about AI. Let us know what your thoughts on, comparing AI versus crypto. Like, what do you guys, what's your sentiment between the two? And finally, we got to discuss a little bit of NAT token and its updates. And shout out to Cinco Dago for joining the Twitter space. The links will be in the description.
And Merry Christmas, everybody.
And Merry Christmas? No, we're going to do another video.
Well, but that'll be
post
Christmas. So
yeah. So yeah, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.
Yeah.
And whatever else is out there, because I'm sure there's a lot of, things to celebrate during this time. But yeah, the next time we post something will be New Year, just about.
That's right.
Holy crap, dude! Fastest year of all time.
I told you.
I think AI is like speeding up time a little bit.
Must be.
It's like a consequence of AI, symptom of it.
It has to be.
I think it is. Maybe.
I mean, I predicted this exactly a year ago. It's like
Yeah.
A year ago, I said we're gonna teleport to a year later.
Definitely did.
Like literally teleport.
All right. Well, next podcast we'll make some predictions. You gotta make some more predictions.
Okay.
Teleport even faster. I don't like that, dude.
No, I don't like that either.
I think I'm going to start paying more attention to that Brian Johnson guy.
Me too.
Time's moving quicker and quicker. You got to extend life as long as you can.
Yeah, I agree. All right, guys. I appreciate you for watching, and we will catch you in the next podcast.
Peace.